All right, so I always see this topic in Facebook groups, basically asking about, what's the best settings for my GPU, um, stuff like that. It's not copy paste. You can't copy paste. Sometimes you can, and it might be okay, but I mean, you might be leaving performance on the table, or you might be running a little too hot. So we're going to go over the aspects of tuning here in drivers. Um, we're going to first start out. What I would do is start out with memory controllers, everything at defaults. What I would use for testing would be 3D Mark Time Spy. You can get the demos and everything like this. I'll link it in the description. But what I found is if Time Spy is basically stable, most part everything else is, as long as temperatures aren't too high. I use Hardware 64 to basically monitor everything and go through. It will show you your GPU clocks. It'll show you your max, your average, stuff like that. We'll get into that in a little bit more later. But, memory clocking, 2025, give it a test. I hit 26, but no big deal. 2050, give it a test. 2100, give it a test. I start out with memory and tuning basically because I want to know where my memory's max frequency is stable at base. Um, and you can see your average memory clocks and stuff like that. I use multi-monitor. You could look at my IDA 64 video. You could actually do this with your phone and actually see it if you only have the single display. IDA 64 is a really good program to use for that. So you can kind of monitor in real time, or you could use your overlays, different things like that. Overlays don't show everything though. And I would suggest doing the memory first. I already know mine maxed here, and it averages about 2138. And if I lower it to 2138, it'll actually average a little bit lower. Um, Fast timings. Um, you can go into undervolting, but what I would do first is then go into clock tuning. Um, let's say you've noticed that your average GPU clock here is 2500 while you're gaming. And you see your average temperatures being, you know, under 50C or 55C or whatever. You can go in here and you want to keep the minimum clock 100 hertz within the maximum clock. Um, Test it just as it sits with like Time Spy. You'll actually, if you start bumping the clocks up little by little, you'll start seeing that it goes up so many points for every so much you do on the clock. So like say I run it at 2500 and I run it at 2550 and my score was, we'll say 2100 at 2500. At 2550 it might go up 100 points. And I will focus on max clock throughout. 2550 is stable. I'll go 2600, give it a run. I'll reset my temperatures on hardware info 64 between each run so I can see this here for the average. And I'll also look at your maximums. Once these start getting up into the 80, 90C range, or if they're already there, it depends on what GPU you have, you might want to ask questions. And I'll tell you the best way to reach out to me is you go up here to right here on the main page of my YouTube channel here, click it, join my group, answer the questions. Um, my troubleshoot thing here basically tells you how you should post, be specific on your information, what issues you're having, all the other things. Check out my tip videos. I know it's rather long, but it goes into how to get around a lot of the issues and goes into some basics, as well as how to look at some thermals and thermal testing. All kinds of good information. I'm probably going to redo it in segments like I'm doing here on the clock tuning to basically show each different aspect of whenever your drivers start giving you a little bit of issue. I'll say like black screens videos, different things like that, and go on. Um, but now, say 2600 to the max you can get. You're pushing, 60 to 70 C maximum on your GPU temperature, and your hot spot's 20 degrees over, which would put it around, 90 C-ish. Um, you might be able to go in here and go 11.7 or it was 1175 for this GPU. Your GPU will have different numbers possibly because I have the 6900 XT. Um, the HT or the XTH or whatever, or not the Ultimate. So the Ultimate goes up to 1200. Every GPU has a different thing, but here it's 1175 for mine. I'll go 1150, apply, and then test. If temperature's lower, whatever, everything's stable, I might go 1125. Test. There is no copy paste settings. Everything's based on thermal activity of your GPU. Mine is liquid cooled. And to kind of give an example of, you know, how far this GPU pushes till it hits its thermal limits, let's go here, my results, and time spy on default drivers. The 6900 XT kind of levels out at about 22,500 on air cooling if you can keep your temperatures in control. If you can't, then it might be a little bit lower. But go in here on MPT, I've maxed out here to my cooling. And how my cooling config is 25 to 37 on MPT will, that's a really impressive score. I kind of run this as a daily um, setting a lot of the times. Right now, I think I am on default. I could be default because I see 200 here and 320 here, so I'm most likely default on drivers right at this current time. But to truly know, I can go here and hit apply, and it doesn't go above 320, so I know that I'm on no MPT currently on my driver. Um, I will do a different video for MPT to kind of show you how you do tuning within that on AMD drivers. But the most important part of all this is basically, small increment steps. Now, say you run at 2600 and you're unstable, and your last run was, say, 2575, and it was stable. You could actually go, that was too many numbers. 2575 was your last. So maybe try 2580 and see if it's stable, or 85. You can go in increments of one, so 86, um, to find that max peak point. Fan controllers, max fan speed, this is by percentages. You can go to 100%, whatever. On mine, it's water cooled, so it doesn't really matter. And here you have the curve. You can adjust your fan curve at 62 degrees. I'm at roughly 75% here. Um, at, we'll say this is 80 degrees. It doesn't show on the graph. I am at 100%. Um, if you're air cooled and you want to just go as far as you possibly can, I would say go bump like this and just max out fan speeds. You can go under here and you can do it by states. When to go to 100, P2, P3, basically what temperature, like at 35 degrees, 100% is kind of ridiculous. 58 degrees, 100% if you're trying to keep it in check to push out the max you can on air. Um, Again, in my driver tips video, I go into a lot about thermal testing and stuff like that. Um, and, point out pads and give out information there. GPU Z, best way, sensors tab, log to file. Now I've already got that clicked, so while it's open, it's logging. But if I close, I can go over to my documents is where it's saved, and open GPU-Z with Notepad++. Choose an app on this PC. One second, I gotta find it to open with. Um, and just once, because I want to show you. And if you see, it gives it line by line, nice, pretty little information. It wasn't running that long, so this must be an old log file. Um, but we'll go down here, and we will look at um, clocks and whatnot in a benchmark. So say like we're gonna go right here. Go back up to the top so I can show you. Up at the very top, it's going to show your memory clock. It's going to show your GPU clock, GPU temperature hotspot, GPU temperature itself. Now, we're not going to scroll all the way back down. That's just too much time. Say here was 80 90C, and this was 110C. Then within two lines, you're going to see um, clocks drop by like 500 or more. And this is sometimes where stuttering and different aspects can come into your thermal throttling. So basically, you're running too hot. You might want to lower your clock settings, different things like that. If I open that same sensor log, why is it like that? Um, and open with Notepad instead of Notepad++. Oh, look, yeah, they didn't. See how it's all, let's go, turn word wrap off. And I guess it works. Before, a while back, it wouldn't do it correctly. What you can kind of see where it is this way as well. Um, your main aspects, your main limits will be cooling. Undervolting a GPU, I mean, you just got to kind of keep testing. Even here, you can go by tens. You can go by fives, you can go by ones. To get, basically, you want to be as stable as possible through a heavy stress test. And in 3D Mark, I mean, you can save time if you have the full version, because I don't know if you can do it under the demo. Basically, custom settings, you can omit the demo, you can omit the CPU test and all that kind of stuff. Um, Usually you can pick it up on Steam for like $5. You can look around and find keys for fairly cheap online as well, but since they're not paying to, you know, get their advertisement in my videos, I'm not going to recommend places. Go custom run. See, I got demo off. Um, it's just taking forever to load today. But you can able, or you turn off the CPU test. It kind of shows it here, dimmed out. There it goes. CPU test, and just these take a couple of minutes to run. Um, and you can sit there and just keep hitting your GPU. Um, with different tests, your basic limits are going to be thermals. On the 360 millimeter AIO, the best run in Time Spy was like 23K. And then there's also driver dependencies, um, like MPT for me um, kind of does weird things past 2211.1, where I believe this was a 400 watt run. Yeah, because temperature's up over 60, 400 watt run, and that was way lower than what it should run. And here I have to go in and test and figure out what's going on with the drivers past this particular one on MPT. There's a video where I show 2211.2 versus 2211.1 with the voltages whenever all the madness came out where they were saying drivers were killing GPUs. Um, C67C on this run, 23,984. I'm not quite hitting this. On this driver here, on MPT is the best, which was 22.11.1 for me. Other users find 22.11.2 better than 22.11.1. It's going to vary, and you got to kind of do it if that's what your goal is. And drivers itself, I mean, check out your tips video here on the channel. I will possibly be redoing that so that it's a little bit better um, time wise and different things like that, different aspects to make it easier to follow along and just kind of label each one. Um, Heaven's a good temperature test. Its scores don't matter as much anymore. Um, I'm going to go through different videos showing probably Hydra a little bit in testing, um, CPU-Z, um, the PBO2 tuner thing. I just recently found a video on, and I can show people how to get results like that. A little bit of RAM tuning information as well. I kind of um, with my RAM, it's finely tuned. What I've found here is I can run 3800, um, 14, 14, 14, 14, 14, 34, 48, and it's like 250-ish on those first few numbers, and get pretty damn close to the same results as going through and doing this. And if you have the same RAM kit as I do, the G-Skill Neos or the Flare X, 3200 CL14s, or pretty much, well, any of the G-Skill 14 timings on Zen 3, these are kind of copy paste, unlike how the GPU is. I'll go into this more in a mini memory type video later down the road. And I might even toss an output cable so I can capture BIOS to my capture card and do that as well for BIOS. And here in output, you can go under recording. It's not going to let me change anything right now because I'm doing it streaming. Um, Best settings for streaming right now seem to be this for, on AMD GPUs using the AV1 codec if you have the 6900 XT. I don't know if it works on the others. I haven't had anybody work with me on it. You can try out, let me know in the comments, pass the knowledge on. I mean, I'm very limited on hardware I can test. I can only test what I can afford to buy, and testing multiple items um, on my own dime. Man, I'm married and have children, and I can't spend money like that. So I can only give you what I can with the information I've learned with different testings. I've had many different Ryzen CPUs, so I have a lot of experience there. I went 2700X, 3700X, 3900X, 3950X, 5900X, and I plan on a 5950X here in the near future. The 3D chips, I don't really think tuning's advisable on them because there's a risk, and I don't need one, really, for gaming. I mean, once you get that RAM tuned, the 5900X does excellent on the 6900 XT. That'd be the 6950 XT as well. That'd mean the 5600X would do well, because the difference from the 5600 to the 5900 or 5950 is 5% in reviews. You get in there, you RAM tune, and you do all the fine tuning, you'll find out that you're going to get a little bit more using the different RAMs and stuff like that. But those will be in later videos. I mean, if you stumble upon my channel, join my Facebook page, like and subscribe. If you're from my Facebook page, whatever, help me get past 1,000 members. I have been doing quite well with video activity, and I don't get a lot of um, go into our analytics. I mean, if the watch time goes up, I can get subscribed and I start making a little bit in return for all my work. Um, I do have Buy Me Coffee. What is that? If you wanted to donate, um, I've only had this bites for you do it, and that's I do a lot of back help on him sometimes. And I mean, you can buy coffee, and I'll be happy to test hardware for you if I reach the goals to buy the hardware. Um, that's on you guys. Um, but all I ask is a like and a subscribe and, maybe a comment. Throw me into the YouTube algorithm better because the more people I reach, the better chances I can get the monetization going. The channel's been here for many years. I don't have a lot of subscribers. Need that to grow and need contributes. End of the days, thanks for watching, guys. Have a great one.